So what's the true story behind this incredible Netflix fight that we all watched, right? Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. We're going to get to the true story in a second. But first, I got to talk about the day after effect, because one of the most exciting things, guys, and you know this, right, from watching any kind of big boxing event like this, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, is that it's the day after effect. Like, you know, getting on the phone, talking to your boys, getting on social media, right, reading all the comments, the chat, things like that on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, right, seeing all the memes and all that kind of stuff that get posted. Like that honestly sometimes is more fun than the actual fight. It's just seeing the different stuff people post up, right? So I was doing that this morning, you know, because I like to relive the action, right? It was a great fight. Well, kind of. It almost wasn't a fight, right? But anyway, we'll get to that. But I saw on my Facebook feed there was a Pastor Mark Burns. Now I don't follow this dude, but you know how like Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that, they be like recommending certain posts to you and things like that. And so it recommended like this dude, Pastor Burns, and this is a brother, right? This is a black dude, and he's like, and this post he actually posted this like 11 hours ago. So this was before the fight. But I saw it the next day, right? Today, I saw it this morning. And so, like, he says in this post, like, you know, yeah, I'm really praying for my good friend, you know, Jake Paul. And he's got a picture of him with Jake Paul, you know. And he's like, I'm really praying for my friend Jake Paul. And you know, he texted me today and that he's felt the presence of Jesus this week more than he has, you know, all week long. And I'm just like, there's a lot of things going through my mind, right? First of all, I'm thinking about what kind of colonized brother is this, you know, in terms of his psychology, because, you know, some people are always trying to insert Jesus into everything. Like, is Jesus like placing bets on like FanDuel or something? Like, does he have a dog in this fight? Like, you know, like what does Christianity have to do with a boxing fight where these dudes are making millions of dollars? Like, what does Jesus have to do with that, right? Is that the purpose of Christianity? But see, we're at a state in society now where people, and we've always been this way, right? Ever since the founding of Christianity, people have used Christianity for whatever purpose they want to use it for, right? And so it's no difference today where people are now using Jesus and using Jesus to be like, God be with this person or Jesus be with this person. These guys make $1 million in a boxing fight. Like, I don't think they need Jesus to be with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I think they'll be okay, right? I think they'll be all right. You know, how about you pray for those that don't have millions of dollars, right? But anyway, I found that interesting just thinking about the psychology of this brother who's praying for this millionaire. I don't know, he may have more, I'm assuming he has millions, maybe a billionaire, but he's praying for this millionaire that Jesus be with this guy during his boxing fight, you know? And so part of me psychology is on that side, but the other aspect of it is just like, what are you praying for? Are you praying that Jesus be with him, but not be with Anthony Joshua? Like, why is Jake Paul more worthy of Jesus' favor than somebody else? Anyway, that's beside the point. So it just got me thinking. But nowadays in the modern society, like people insert Jesus into everything, right? So like, for example, like, you know, it's to be patriotic is to be a Christian. Right? So now you're inserting Jesus into patriotism. Like, if you're not a Christian, then you're not patriotic enough, right? And so it's popular now for us to assimilate into the popular culture, into whatever is popular, whatever, because that's what it will get you paid, right? That's what's going to get you paid is to assimilate into popular culture. So if you subscribe to the patriotic faith of Christianity and some of the ideas and ideologies, then most likely you will be more successful than somebody that doesn't, right? Just because you'll get paid to be that way. And so this psychology is present within Christianity, within churches, within, you know, spiritual systems, within our culture and within our community. So it got me thinking, one, about that. But then two, I just enjoyed like just seeing Jake Paul get beat up, especially knowing like after the fact what this pastor posted, because like that to me is menticidal and deviant in a lot of different ways, okay? In terms of the thought process that goes behind, you know, Jesus be with this guy, you know what I'm saying? So to win the fight, you know what I mean? So anyway, outside of that, guys, the true story really of Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul really goes back to Jack Johnson, right? Jack Johnson and James Jeffries. So if those of you guys not familiar with this, you know, and this is just how history has unfolded, right? Jack Johnson was the first African American world heavyweight champion, right? And world heavyweight champion in America, in the United States, right? In terms of boxing, and so African American brother, and this was during the Jim Crow era, right? In terms of history, so this is like in the early 1900s. But people didn't like that there was a black heavyweight champion. Okay, that was the fact of the matter. But for us, as people of African descent, as black people, as a black community, like sometimes we need a win. And so for us, sporting events are not just entertainment, right? Sporting events are not just entertainment for us. Sporting events for us is a means for us to is a means for us to repair what has been wrong, right? To fix what has transpired throughout history. It's our chance to get back at society and things that have, historically that have been detrimental to us, right? We're talking about slavery, colonialism, Jim Crow, right? All the things that happened during civil rights, and many things that continue to happen systemically. So, sporting events is a way that it just evens things out, right? It's an even scale, right? So, in other words, it's not the cards aren't stacked against you in most cases, right? It's even. That means it's the best person wins. And so we're always looking for an even playing field. And sports, for us as people of African descent, has been essentially the only even playing field that we've been able to enter into and come across, for the most part. Okay, it's been the only even playing field, because everywhere else you go, there's always discrimination. And yeah, there's certainly discrimination in sports, but at the end of the day, in terms of winning and losing, typically it's just who performs the best. And so the story of boxing is no different. Back in the early 1900s, you had Jack Johnson, famous African-American boxer. He was the world colored heavyweight champion, but then he became the world heavyweight champion in the early 1900s. But what happened with the story of Jack Johnson was that people didn't like the idea of there being a black heavyweight world champion. And so there arose James Jeffries, who challenged Jack Johnson, and James Jeffries became known as the Great White Hope. Literally the Great White Hope, because he was a white guy, and he was the hope of people to beat this African American boxer. And so really since that time, and probably before that, that's always been the story of boxing. Whether you look at Sugar Ray Robinson, whether you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, whether you look at Tommy Hearns, whether you look at Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, any of our greats, any of our championship boxers, whoever they were fighting, we're always going to root for the guy that came from our community, okay? That's just what it is, or the closest thing to it, because Anthony Joshua, he's actually from England, right? From Britain, but his origin is in Nigeria. Okay, so his mother was Nigerian, and then his father was mixed Nigerian and Irish. But regardless, we're gonna root for someone who comes from our community, who looks like us, and these are our superheroes. That is completely healthy, normal, and natural to do. But this is really the true story of boxing, especially boxing. You can look at some team sports and things like that, but really, when it comes to one man versus another man, that is the story. It is Jack Johnson versus James Jeffries, retold, essentially. And that was the story that we saw last night. And of course, Anthony Joshua landed a vicious right cross. I can watch that many, many times. And what's interesting to see is, certainly Jake Paul's face, like that fear on his face, like he was like in dread, like he was straight terrified, because he knew it was coming and he couldn't do anything. He was in the corner, certainly should have kept his hands up, right? But he ate it on the jaw, broke his jaw, and that is what it is. But overall, Jake Paul had a great strategy, right? He had a good fight strategy, try to, stay on the outside with the bigger guy. I do think, like in the beginning, Jake Paul gave up too much ground, because if you watch the opening round, as soon as he came out, Jake Paul already started running. Like, Anthony Joshua didn't even do anything. Jake Paul was like gone. He's like, zoom. He's like the road runner, man. He is gone. And that's the thing, like if you don't train like your cardio to be able to run and sprint for like 8 rounds straight, if you don't train like 24 minutes of straight sprinting, you're not going to be able to hold that up. And that's kind of what happened to Jake Paul. Like he got tired, and I noticed it by like round 4 or 5, because then Jake Paul actually started trying to throw punches, And I'm like, oh yeah, he's tired. Because I've been there. You know, I'm a small dude, and I'm usually sparring with bigger guys, and that's typically what you want to do. You want to kind of pick your shots, stay on the outside. And, Mayweather did this very, very well against Marcos Maidana in their second fight, because the first fight, Maidana was throwing a lot of heavy blows, heavy shots, kept Mayweather on the ropes. Second fight, Mayweather used his footwork and stayed on his bike, right? But in the opening rounds, Jake Paul was really just playing tag. He wasn't even really boxing. He was like, tag, I got you. Tag, you're it. And he's running away, right? He like tag and runs away. Credit to Anthony Joshua. I understand, like, you can't really like fight somebody who's like running. Really, that's not really a fight. But at the same time, I was surprised that Anthony Joshua wasn't really able to cut off the ring, right? So, he was just following Jake Paul from corner to corner to corner for the most part, and not able to cut off the ring. So I think, Jake Paul's strategy was good. I think you just have to you can't just run the whole time, though. You do have to kind of stop at some point, mix things up. And he did stop. He tried to clinch and stuff like that, but it was too late. He did that after he was already tired. And so you got to kind of start clinching and that kind of stuff really as part of your overall strategy. You can't wait until you're tired to start clinching. Now, obviously, clinch is not the same thing as what Jake Paul was doing, because Jake Paul was like falling all over his knees, like hugging Anthony Joshua on the knees. Like he looked like he was in bad shape, man. Like I'm like, man, this dude is like, he not even, he just looked like a sack of potatoes about to fall off the table. But anyway, so you got to do that kind of stuff ahead of time. Now, to Anthony Joshua's point, like I think for him, in terms of feedback, being able to cut off the ring is important. And so I get it. Anthony Joshua's got the long reach and long range, but that long reach also enabled Jake Paul to be able to move and circle the way he did in the opening rounds. And so part of it is that you got to shorten that distance between you and your opponent. So being almost able to clinch as well, okay, but pushing the pace. And so for Anthony Joshua, the idea is not so much to step in and throw punches, because now you open yourself up to get countered in the opening rounds, especially dangerous, because that's typically where Jake Paul's going to be the strongest, is in the opening rounds. Both fighters are strongest opening rounds, but you certainly don't want to get knocked out by Jake Paul. And so, but being able to come forward with his defense more so and work in close, I think that would have been more advantageous, because that would have it just would have helped him cut off the ring and also change the distance of the fight, because for the most part he kept it long range, long distance in the early rounds. So anyway, those are just some things I noticed in watching the fights. I did honestly appreciate the earlier fights. Those were the better fights, especially Jamal Harvey, man. Did you guys see Jamal Harvey, man? Brother was laying on the sauce thick, okay? I don't even know what the dude he was fighting. It was a guy from Cuba. But man, Jamal Harvey, I was telling my family, and friends, like, man, he was laying out the salt and the shaker. He put all the seasonings on him. He didn't hold back. He's like, get a little bit of Old Bay, get a little bit of all seasoning, right? He put everything together on him, man. I mean, giving him the 2-piece combo, 3-piece, some chicken thigh, wings, legs. He was giving him everything, man. It was an incredible display of boxing, and it was amazing to see, right? And this dude is an Olympian boxer. He's 5'7", right? Small guy. But the way he was just able to season things together, pop, pop, pop. Oh, it was amazing, beautiful thing to see, okay? So anyway, that was really my favorite fight. If I were to give it like a fight of the night, that was my favorite fight, favorite display of boxing to watch. I did like seeing Anderson Silva again. Always going to like seeing Anderson Silva. He is my favorite mixed martial artist of all time. Just very humble guy, very nice guy, but very deadly, right? Very, very good. And he's always had good hands. He's always been an accurate striker. But that was great to see him back in action. Again, Tyron Woodley, it is what it is. I think Tyron Woodley was good for what he has done in the sport of MMA. It's not hard to go out and become a world champion in mixed martial arts. So, hats off to him for that. Boxing is a different sport, and it's different, right? It's hard. You just can't go out and just throw on boxing gloves and be able to box. And then Alicia Baumgarten, right? That was an amazing fight as well. It wasn't as high paced, right? I get it, because they were used to doing like 2-minute rounds, and now they're bumping up to 3-minute rounds. But I love the way she picked her opponent apart. Was awesome, and she's an amazing fighter, and it was great to see that fight as well. So anyway, all good fights for the most part. Again, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, that fight was we knew what it was going to be, and I think it was definitely, apropos. I'm using big words, but it seemed like, because I'm forgetting. I'm getting old and I'm forgetting the words I'm supposed to use. But But it definitely was like it showed like the fact that Jake Paul came out to Hulk Hogan music, Hulk Hogan shorts, theme song, and everything like that. That was appropriate because it looked like it was a WWE kind of thing, right? Where it was a scripted kind of stage performance because that's what it exactly looked like. It looked like it was something that should be on Monday Night Raw. That's exactly what it looked like. So, but again, hats off to Anthony Joshua for representing. But just look at me, and I saw the weigh-in. Do you realize Anthony Joshua's like simple fist size, man? This dude's fist size is massive. And so I would never have taken that fight. Guy who's 6'6", world champion boxer, massive fist size, definitely bit off more than he could chew. But he made a lot of money in the process. So anyway, those are my thoughts, guys, on the fight. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. What was your favorite part about the fight or any of the fights? Did you have a favorite fight? Let me know. And last but not least, guys, if you notice the shirt I'm wearing here, this shirt came from Art of Facts clothing. Okay, so please check them out. It's the We Them Africans. Okay, and they got all sorts of shirts, hoodies, caps, things like that. So definitely go check them out where you can pick up these shirts.
A man with my knowledge, what can you tell a man like me now? What's your suggestion? Ask your question. Okay, you talking to me, not a dumb nigger or a pork chop eater, don't know the truth. I'm free now. I woke up. Now, what are you going to tell me now? I done gave you my solution, some land of my own, doing something for myself like you, England, and America do. Now, I know you're not against the black man. I know you're not against me having my land, are you? I know you English and ruled and slaved forever for a long time. But do you still today don't want me to have my own country and build for myself and govern myself? Would you think that's bad if we thought like that?